Victoria Fuller and Greg Grippo possibly spotted in Italy. We have got to talk about this Bachelor Nation tea. So before we get into today's video, let me warn you, this is a spoiler video. We're going to share how Paradise ends this season for a certain couple. But before we get into it, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you're new here. I'm your host, Zachary Reality, with Allison Van Dam. Allison, pretty shocking news we're going to talk about today. Are you ready to get into it? Does this kind of stuff excite you? Do we feel like this is a normal thing? What are your thoughts?
Definitely exciting. I mean, obviously, we'll get into it. I hope that this doesn't involve any sort of cheating or anything negative in that light, because I just feel like sometimes that dampers the excitement you can have for a new couple. And I am very much excited by this couple. I can actually see them kind of working well together, even though maybe from the outside eye, they're like, why would these two ever go together? So excited to dive into it, excited to, piece together what we've seen online, what we've heard. But yes, definitely need to know some timeline details because I don't want Johnny's feelings to be hurt in any way.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people are rallying for Johnny. Some people are rallying for Victoria. A lot happened on last night's episode of Paradise, but what we're going to get into is what's going on in real time. So, you guys have been warned. There is a spoiler about to come up. So, allegedly, Victoria and Johnny got engaged in Paradise at the end of the summer. I feel like a lot of people know that who follow the spoilers, but we still have to say allegedly until we see it on TV. So we'll wait for that. There's a few more episodes left, a few more weeks. And they were actually spotted together when Victoria posted on Instagram a picture on her and Johnny. Now, this was on August 15th because I saw the screenshot, but she deleted it. So we basically know that they left the beach together and that they were engaged and together in the real world for a little bit of time before they broke up. So, before I get into the second part, Allison, what are your thoughts on that? Especially based on where we're at on Paradise now watching the show.
Yeah, I mean, I think where we left off this week, there was a big question of who Victoria is going to pick. Is it going to be Johnny? Is it going to be Alex? And they bring such different things to the table. And, I've been debating this with people of, she can see a future with Alex. He has his career together. He's older. They share all these passions. And she is very confident that they could be successful together. But there was still this, how can I make it work with Johnny? And I feel like that was the key. And it pointed out her interest in Johnny because she would have just jumped ship to Alex if there wasn't something bringing her back. She then went back to Johnny, was really trying to make it work, was asking, what are your career ambitions? What are your passions? Where do you see yourself? Are you ready for commitment? Are you ready for children? Based on the fact that she was willing to do that kind of legwork and try so hard to make it work, I'm like, ooh, there is something in Johnny that she is really into, despite him being younger, despite him not being in the same spot as Alex. And so it's kind of no surprise to me that she then took it all the way, really tried to make it work, got engaged. And I will say, because I am a little sleuth, unless I've got this so wrong, there was a shot in one of the teasers very early on, because they always like to show, a potential engagement. They don't show faces, but I saw a ring being put on someone's finger. And a lot of these girls just get a Gel X or an acrylic or some form of gel manicure. So it's the same manicure the entire time on the beach. And it was a French tipped manicure. So the second Victoria came down on the beach and I saw her nails look like that, I was like, oh, Victoria might have a ring on her finger by the end of this.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. And I think there also was a lot of talk about maybe them using an old contestant's hand for another shot,
Ah,
for another proposal with Katie Moe. But I'm not saying you're wrong either because we just confirmed Victoria gets engaged. Now,
see,
her
this
and
is the
Johnny,
hard part. They tease us. They're not even
yeah.
pulling in random shots. They're pulling in archives. This isn't fair, Zach.
I know, but we're smarter than this. We follow social media. Now, I'm not surprised that her and Johnny broke up just because Johnny wasn't ready for an engagement on Gabby's season. He doesn't seem to be ready from one after last night's conversation. It seems like he would only want to get engaged because Victoria really wants it. So I'm not surprised that it fell apart after the show. And I guess we'll hear about that. They filmed the reunion in a couple weeks. But what's shocking is now Victoria F is spotted with Greg Grippo. There has been rumors all week that they were in Italy together because one girl named Anna on TikTok posted that she saw them, and then she sent a picture to YouTuber Dave Neal, who posted a picture of them from the back of their head. So some people were like, well, Greg and Johnny look alike. And then Reality Steve got sent videos of someone who took a clear picture of Victoria and Greg in Italy by the Trevi Fountain. And then there's a couple of pictures up on Twitter already. So based on what we can assume from this is that Victoria and Johnny broke up, and then she started dating Greg, and now she's with Greg. We're just confused on the timeline. Was there cheating?
Hmm.
Did she take the engagement seriously? Were her and Greg talking before the show? Was Greg supposed to go to Paradise? Allison, what are your thoughts here? I just broke down so much.
Yeah, I mean, there is a question of timeline, right? Like you mentioned, she had that Instagram post in the middle of August, but then quickly took it down. So, and now they're not only together, they're traveling to Europe in October. So that's not a ton of time. I mean, that's what, like 6 weeks right there. Relationships can be formed in 6 weeks. So I guess there's a chance that maybe she posted that on Instagram and maybe that was one of the final times they got together. Maybe she and Greg started dating 2 days ago and they just decided to take a trip with it. It's so hard to know, at what stage of a relationship do you take it to Italy? It does seem like something that you would do many weeks in, just because also they are somewhat of public figures. People are going to notice them, they're going to take photos of them. So if they wanted to keep it low key, if it was in the early stages, I think they would have avoided a trip to Europe. But then again, they could
Well, where
just be
would they
saying,
go?
they probably didn't need to go anywhere. They could have stayed at home until Bachelor in
Oh, yeah,
Paradise
yeah.
wrapped up.
Well, I
Yeah,
think they could have stayed inside. If they didn't want to be spotted at all, they would have stayed inside, even in Italy. Like, they're going out in public.
totally.
You can see by the pictures they have glasses and hats, so they are trying to be discreet. There's not that many, people recognizing them. They're not Beyonce. But I think that if they wanted to keep this discreet, they could have went somewhere else. I feel like Italy is a pretty popular tourist attraction place, like especially if you're
But
at
it,
like the Trevi Fountain. Like
mhm.
they could have went to Slovenia. They could have went to Idaho. They could have went to like anywhere, India. I don't know, just somewhere more low key, right?
They could have, but also now I'm thinking to myself, maybe the fact that they are going somewhere of a public place proves that there was no overlap. Because if there was, an overlap, if there was cheating and they were trying to really keep it on the DL, maybe they wouldn't be going to such a public area, all these tourist attractions. So maybe that is a good sign. Maybe that's saying, we have nothing to be ashamed of. There was no overlap. There was no cheating. This is a brand new relationship and a new chapter. So why not just explore the world with your new boyfriend?
Yeah, and well, I mean, also they can't really go out like, to the local whatever, wherever they are in the States. They probably would get recognized in New York a lot quicker. I think that's where
Hmm.
Greg lives. But I think that a lot of people are wondering if she did cheat on Johnny and like how serious she took the engagement. Because if you're going to be engaged to someone, that's like a really big deal. I know it's The Bachelor, and a lot of people accuse the show of being really fake and having fake engagements. So maybe that was, a plan all along to just do it for the show and it's just part of the process. Or maybe she just like it was a whirlwind and then Victoria moved on really quickly to Greg. Um, but I think the biggest issue here for me is why didn't Greg go to Paradise? Like we all wanted to see him there. He was a fan favorite from Katie's season. Him and Victoria could have fell in love on the beach. Why isn't this playing out on the beach? Like that's my biggest complaint in all of this.
I mean, the beach is a tricky, tricky place. You have to go into it very cautious about what you're going to do, who you're going to talk to, your actions potentially being edited into something that's not great. I mean, even think about Victoria this season. We just encountered the split. She was really set on Johnny, but now she's exploring a connection with Alex, and people are starting to question her and why she's doing that. Like, you are just under such a microscope of how your actions reflect back to not only you but your relationship, how seriously you take it. I mean, we're sitting here even debating how seriously did she take the engagement if she's now with Greg. So I can understand why Greg didn't want to go on the beach. Let's be honest, he didn't make a ton of fans after his time on Katie's season. There were some
People
people who
love
stood by
him.
him. I mean, he was under a lot of
It's
scrutiny. There was a
controversial.
lot of
He
people.
was.
Yeah, it was very split. And he went through it. He has a lot of, I mean, anyone can have haters, whether or not it's the majority or not, but he had such, as you said, a controversial time on Katie's season and a controversial ending that it makes sense to me that he wouldn't want to risk it all again. He could have gone down on the beach and had a redemption arc and had a beautiful love story. He could have gone down on the beach and just created more haters and had people say that he was, an F-boy or who knows what. So I can understand that after such an exhausting time on his main season that he wouldn't want to just continue it on the
Mm-hmm.
beach. Also, he was ending things with his French girlfriend at the time, so he didn't want to go down and
True.
make it seem like he didn't take that relationship seriously by just jumping ship down to the beach and acting like he never cared about her. So there's a lot of factors
Yeah.
going into it.
Well, now he's supposedly with Victoria. I mean, we don't know the status of their relationship. It could very much just be hanging out, friends. It could be dating. It could be literally friends. I mean, probably not because they're just the two of them. And I think people just connect in this world. I'm rooting for it in a toxic way, to be honest. I kind of ship this. I think they're both so hot, and it's just, I love the scandal behind it. So I'm shipping them, but I do feel like Victoria might be a little bit of a player in this situation because my heart does go out to Johnny if like he truly feels like, wow, she moved on and she's in Italy that quick. Like, I feel like if I was Johnny, I would be like, wow, like, wow. So I feel bad for him in that's how Johnny talks too. I feel bad for Johnny in that way, but I'm also like kind of rooting for this and I'm excited to see what happens at the reunion because I wonder if Johnny will like call her out on this and like, like or if there's just more to the story because I just feel like it's a little messy and we want to see it on TV, right?
Yeah, no, this is great timing for the reunion, and it's going to make a lot of people tune in because we want these questions asked. We love when things from the real world are brought up on the stage. I mean, look at the past season of The Bachelorette. We're talking to Eric about his ex coming forward. Like, I love when they can apply real world discoveries to what's happened on the show. But yeah, my heart does go out to Johnny. I mean, a breakup is already hard enough. There's the second part of a breakup when your ex moves on to someone else that's sometimes just as painful, if not more. So yeah, it sucks to see your ex move on to someone, especially when it's really quickly, especially when they're off gallivanting through Europe. But I am
Yeah.
rooting for them. I feel like Victoria and Greg could actually make a very good couple. I mean, they're both obviously, like you said, attractive, but they both have like a goofy, fun side, and they're both just very nice people. And so I think it could actually work out well.
Yeah, I mean, they could really end up, working out in the long run. Victoria made it clear last night that she is looking for engagement and marriage, which I feel like Greg could be as well. So we'll see what happens with the two of them. I would love to see Greg show up at the reunion if possible. I think that with social media, we'll definitely be following this a lot closer. And then there's this whole other world of what happens on the show, which is filmed months in advance. So it's an interesting timeline to kind of follow both things going on. So luckily we have this reunion which will totally clear it up, hopefully. And we'll be keeping up to date here. So definitely check us out over here at Shared News. Be sure to subscribe and ring the bell. Let us know your thoughts on this whole rendezvous Italy edition in the comments below. I'm your host, Zachary Reality with Allison Van Dam. Check out our socials. They're on the screen right now. Be sure to give us a follow, say hello. Thank you all so much for watching, and we will catch you in the next one. Bye, guys.
Bye.